So, what do you want to be when you grow up? Remember being asked that question as a child? You probably had a clear, snappy, immediate answer: astronaut, teacher, firefighter, doctor, lawyer. No hesitation, no analysis paralysis. But somewhere along the way, my friend, that clarity got clouded. We started living other people's definitions of success, following paths that were drawn for us rather than by us. Hey, I'm Raju Panjwani, and in today's episode of Bold Conscious Connections, I want to help you rediscover that childlike clarity about what you truly want and why it's the foundation of everything meaningful you will ever accomplish. You know what I've noticed about successful executives who feel unfulfilled? They're incredibly clear about what they don't want, but surprisingly unclear about what they do want. They can tell you exactly why they hate their commute, perhaps their boss, perhaps the company culture. But ask them to describe their ideal life, and suddenly they're stumbling over words. This lack of clarity is often paralyzing. Without a clear vision of where you're going, every decision becomes overwhelming because you have no filter for what matters to you. See, when I was on Wall Street at Morgan Stanley, I fell into that trap many times. I mean, I was reacting to circumstances all day long rather than creating my own life. I knew that I didn't want to be there forever, although I was there for 18 years, by the way, but hadn't done the deep work to get really clear about what I actually wanted instead of being there. So, having given 18 years of my life to that life, I'm also grateful because I learned so much about myself and life and how I acted and reacted all day. Well, finally, when I was sort of forced to confront those fundamental issues, uh, because we were swept away in the tsunami, and I came back and never went back to work. What I discovered through that process was, being guided for every major decision through a different lens, and that was 20 years ago. So let me share with you a framework that transformed my life in many ways and continues to, because it's a practice. And I really believe that the executives that I coach today, this framework that I'm going to share with you is so simple, but it really is important to understand. So it's called the OMI framework. O is for outcome, M for meaning, and I for inspired action. Well, let me explain. Most people get this backwards. They start with action, making to-do lists, setting goals, trying to figure out the how, and being troubled by the how, but that's putting the cart before the horse. Real clarity starts with outcome. What do you actually want? Not what you think you should want. That's what you've been doing because you've been living other people's dreams, perhaps. Not what others expect of you, but what genuinely lights you up when you can imagine it. Okay? Here's an exercise that changed everything for me. So grab a piece of paper, a journal, write down the different roles you play in your life. So for most people, there are about 4 to 6 roles that we play, perhaps as a professional or employee, or employer. You're a parent, perhaps. You have a spouse or significant other, friend, community member, things like that. And the role that you play for yourself. For yourself, meaning your health, your physical, mental, energetic being, spiritual being. For each of those roles, for each of those 4, 6 roles that you have, create 3 columns. The first column is what's your immediate vision for this role, whether it's as a spouse or father, mother, um, whatever role is you said in these 6 that you play. And if you could wave a magic wand, what would this area of your life look like? Okay, so are we clear? First column, what's your ultimate vision for this role as an employer, parent, etc.? And if you could wave a magic wand, what would that area of your life look like? Second column is what are you willing to do to achieve that vision? Meaning, what are you willing to give up? What sacrifices would you make? And I know the word sacrifice drives people crazy because you have to like, oh my God, I have to do something really crazy. No, it could be something simple. You give up one little thing, or the time that you commit to doing, or getting out of a comfort zone. Okay. So what comfort zone would you leave in the second column as far as trying to achieve that goal? The third column is what are you not willing to give up? The non-negotiable. So, because let's be honest, some things are mutually exclusive. Okay. So when you do this exercise diligently, genuinely from the heart, this exercise forces you to be very specific about outcomes and very honest about what you're willing to exchange for them, the negotiables and the non-negotiables. Okay, the second part of this framework is meaning. The M is for meaning. This answers the question, why, W-H-Y, does this vision matter to you? See, without deep emotional connection to your outcomes, you'll never sustain the effort that's required to achieve the goals or the vision that you have for each of those roles. The why has to be so strong that when the inevitable obstacles do occur, your why is so strong, it doesn't matter. You'll overcome. So when I left my job, my why wasn't just about money because I already knew that I was unfulfilled in my career and I just wanted to do something different. I didn't know what exactly though. Okay. Money, freedom, well, those did matter. At the core though, at the time, it was something about legacy. It was a little vague idea about legacy. I had no idea what that meant. But you leave a legacy, you leave money, you leave some kind of memories for people. But I wasn't clear. I just knew there was more than what I already was working on. And after nearly losing my family in that tsunami 20 years ago, I realized I wanted to build something that would outlast me, something that would make my children proud of the choices I had made. Now you can say that's all debatable after I die. It doesn't matter. While I was living, I needed that clarity. Okay, so we got OMI. O was for, hey, are you listening? Was for outcome. 2 is for meaning. And 3rd is inspired action. Now, notice I didn't say action, I said inspired action. See, most people take action from a place of obligation or fear. I should do this. I have to do this. But inspired action does not come from that. It comes from excitement about your vision. It doesn't feel like work because you're moving towards something you genuinely want. Okay? So since this episode is about clarity, let's now get into clarity once you've done this exercise. 4 clarity questions that I ask every client in all my sessions. Once you've done the outcome exercise though, okay, here's the first question. And this will help you refine your vision for each of those roles that we just talked about. Number 1, what is my vision for who I want to be? Recently, I had a little variation of this. So, what are you trying to build? Maybe from scratch. What are you trying to change? Perhaps you are in a job that requires some significant change and no one's taking the lead, and maybe you are the one to do that. And the 3rd is, who am I trying to be? So perhaps each one of those or a combination of those is your first question. What is my vision for who I want to be? Again, this isn't about what you want to achieve. It's about who you want to become. Your character, the values that you espouse or embody, the energy that you're bringing to the world. Okay, moving right along. Question number 2. How do I want to interact with others? This question is crucial because it helps you break patterns. Most of us recreate the same relationship dynamics wherever we go. Really, wherever you go, you take yourself. If you want different results, you need to envision different interactions. Okay, number 3. What skills must you develop? Be honest about the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Most of us are not honest about that. What do you need to learn to get to here, that vision? What capabilities do you need to build? I mean, in this day of technology going, bananas, AI just being one of them, it's a fast moving world on your exterior. So if you are really looking to fulfill yourself in a different role, you have to be honest about what skills you want to develop to get there. Number 4, how can I do what I do with excellence rather than perfection? Notice it's excellence, not perfection. This is key. And why? You will never get started if you go after perfectionism. Perfection is the enemy of progress, as one of my many mentors says. Excellence comes from consistency, not from waiting until you've got it all figured out. Okay? You'll never get it done. So, 4 questions on clarity. Do the exercise after you've done the OMI exercise, and then these 4 questions will help you become more clear about what it is you're trying to achieve. Or not achieve, rather, I should say, go after. Moving from past-oriented to future-oriented. Here is something most people don't realize. Most of us are past-oriented in the present moment. We make decisions based on past failures, past headaches, past heartaches, past fears. Okay? But clarity requires being future-oriented while being present. I'm going to repeat that. Clarity requires being future-oriented while being present. This means living today as if you've already achieved your vision, feeling the emotions you'll feel when you get there. Dr. Joe Dispenza is one of my very, very big mentors, and I've learned so much from him. He says that in one of his many books. In the quantum space, you already realized and manifested whatever it is you've desired. So when you feel the emotion today of what you will feel if you achieve something, that moves you so much faster to get to where you want to go than worrying about the past. I know this sounds rather abstract, but it's incredibly powerful and practical. When you can feel your future success emotionally, you start making decisions from that place rather than from fear or scarcity. For example, when I was building my first business after having left the firm, there were days where everything felt crazy overwhelming. But I had practiced this feeling, as to what it would like to run a successful company, perhaps, that aligned with my values. That doesn't mean it happened. All I'm saying is I had to practice that I'm going to run and align my values with what I was going to do. And on tough days, I could tap into that feeling and make decisions from confidence rather than some kind of panic and anxiety, which, by the way, happens to all of us. But you see your panic and you see your anxiety a little differently. Okay. All right. So let's get some practical takeaways here. Here's something you can do right now to start building this muscle, okay, of resilience. Let's call it. People call it that. But your muscle of being clear and sticking to clarity. Here's the sentence I want you to complete. The purpose of my life right now. The purpose of my life right now is to blankety blank, to do or to be blankety blank, so that blank, blank, blank. I'm going to repeat this for those listening. The purpose of my life right now is to fill in the blank, to do or achieve or to be blank, so that blank, blank, blank. So the first blank is about your core desired emotion. How do you want to feel? The second one is about what you're doing to create that feeling. Okay? So the purpose of my life right now is to have the core emotion, fill out, to what you're going to do, blank, 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 to create that feeling. And the third blank, so that, is about the impact you want to have. Influence, impact, not on other people, but in your life. And it can take many forms. So, for example, in my case, the purpose of my life right now is to feel fully expressed and free. The purpose of my life right now is to feel fully expressed and free, to do work that serves others while building financial independence so that I can leave a legacy, as I said earlier, of conscious leadership for my children and whoever I impact in my life. So write the statement down, put it somewhere you'll see it daily. Read it out aloud wherever possible. That's another key to expression. Read it out aloud when possible. There is power in hearing yourself declare your purpose. I just had goosebumps just now declaring my purpose. This statement will evolve over time, and that's okay because the goal is not to get it to be perfect. It's to get clear on your current direction and where you are. Okay, in closing, let me just say, clarity is not a one-time achievement, folks. It's an ongoing practice. As you grow and change, your vision will also evolve, okay? But here's what I've learned. When you're clear on your outcomes, connected to your deeper meaning, and you take inspired action, OMI, obstacles become opportunities. Challenges become adventures, and work becomes, well, joy. Actually, feels like play. So next week, I'm going to share with you about one quality that determines what you'll actually pursue your vision or just keep it as a nice idea, and that is courage. Okay? I will share a personal story about facing my deepest fears and how that taught me to be courageous. And courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of fear, in the presence of fear. Until then, remember, clarity is power. When you know what you want and why you want it, the how becomes inevitable and easy to deal with. This is Raju, and I thank you for joining me on Bold Conscious Connections. Stay bold, stay conscious.